let's get started. Okay, my name is Vic Charlo. I'm a poet, playwright, and just a good guy. I'm the chief of the Bitterroot Salish. Do you know that? We have a chief? And I'm it. I'm the chief of the Bitterroot Salish. I'm a poet. Oh, I already said that. I want to thank you guys. You're poets. You're poets. And I want to thank all of you for coming and listening to what I have to say, because it's really important to learn how to write poetry. First of all, you got to listen. I've got some poetry from my grandkids, and I want to read you a couple of things that I have. I have I got 9 grandchildren, and some of them are writing poetry. I have one granddaughter, Sarah Joan. She's an artist. It says, "Eagle is a healer. Sarah still smoking." That's her name. And this is her picture. And I thought it was important that I bring these things to you. And I have a couple of poems. One of them is called "Advice from a Lizard." And the name of my grandson is Keaton Clement. Scale down things that bug you. Take a chance. Don't worry if you lose your tail. Take time in life. Don't hide your feelings. Soak up the sun. Don't be spiky. Be nice. Shed your worries. Dry your eyes and look at the bright side. Claw your way to the top. That's Keaton. He is in the 4th grade. This is Haley Crumley, and she is in the 7th grade, and she wrote this: "Where I come from. I come from a family that has some stuffed animals. Some days when I have no one to play with, I have a stuffed wolf called Moon Moon. Okay then. I come from a broken home that is now healing. I come from a family that doesn't really bake that often. You can do it," my aunt says. "I went to Portland, Oregon 3 times for 3 reasons: for a wedding, a reception, and just to visit family members. I come from a home where my dad ended up in prison. I come from a family where we go to tribal events and RV powwows. I have 6 pets, including my current ones. I'm not sure where my memories are kept. I've lost many things I'd rather not speak of. Some things are better left unspoken." So that is Haley. And I have one more. Come to think about it. I've got a 2nd-year-old that's published. "Into the Beautiful," it's called. Better put my glasses on. This is your small ones. I should have had my glasses on in the first place. "Tree bugs run, rain, green, reds can play, bears are yellow." And that's by lovely Charlotte. And she is in the 2nd grade. Okay, those are my kids' stuff. So I want to read you some of my things. I have 2 books. One is called "Swift Current Time," that is now out of print, and "Puche." And Puche means in Salish, good enough. I have a daughter who translates for me into Salish. I'm not a Salish speaker. I should be, but that was one of the things that my family decided that wasn't a good idea to do, was to teach us English. They wanted us to be good Americans and speak English and be as good as we could. And that's what we tried to do. And so I never did learn the Salish language. But my daughter has decided that she's going to learn. And now she is the executive director of Inkusa, which is the tribal school at Arlene. And so, I want to read some poetry to you today. And I'll try to explain it as much as I can. If you have any questions, ask me about these poems. This one, and what I did, I tried to find all the ones I could find about my kids, about my children. But, you know, and this is one is for my son. And it's called Generations of Me, and it's for my son, Martin Antoine Victor Paul Charlo. That's his name. Martin Antoine Victor Paul Charlo. That's his whole name. And so when you see his name, it goes Martin Antoine V.P. Charlo. That's how you see it. Okay, it's called Generations of Me. Generations find focus in my little boy's face when thoughts of old times and old folks creep into that need to delve deep into who we are. He is the little chief without saying. I read worry of Moise, who states that we have too much schooling, and now we think more than we should. He says that people used to send a young boy to the top of Red Mountain for the good of all of our people, and we were well. I followed the Smith stream as I try to freeze a focus on unfamiliar feelings, except that we do belong to mountains, and my boy is the face of all of our grandfathers who hold both of us true to cottonwood and stone. So does that make any sense? Does it? Yeah. It does make sense. Okay, so I'll let it go at that then. Here's another one by about my kids. And this is called Children of Snow. And I wrote this one for all of my children. Children of Snow. I tried to stay snow that my children wish would come hard in Missoula, come hard in me. There is fun in me like children of fox and geese, sleds without tracks, without worry. Yet this winter weighs heavy as wet snow as I visit Welsh and ramble, wishing for the right time for right snow. Sing a song for all children who know that snow is holy, falls holy on us, we who should rejoice in this time of work, of play, of holy laughter that brings that crisp stars. That makes sense. Kind of makes sense. Okay. How much time do we have here?
Okay, as much as you want until 9:30.
Not until 9:30?
You don't have to take all that. As much as
Okay. I've got them marked here. Here's one that isn't about my kid. This is about, does anybody know Agnes Vanderberg? Ever heard of Agnes? She probably is, some of your relations even know that. Well, Agnes was a good friend of mine, and I wrote some poems about her. And this one I call Summer at Agnes. Teepee light brings bugs to bump the side of the teepee as I wish bird songs into my baby's dreams this warm June day, as I babysit and listen to this hum of summer. So I was babysitting, and my kids were sleeping, and these things were happening, and I just thought, hey, I think I'll write about that. And that's how you write. You get an idea, and you just stick with it, and try to get down all the things about that you can. And that's how one of the ways that you could write. Here's another one I wrote. This is about me when I was little. I was a stutterer. I stuttered when I was a kid. And I stuttered all the time until what happened, when I was in the first grade, I was all ready, and I got all my school clothes, went to school, and it was a one-room schoolhouse. It was at Everett. and it was a one-room schoolhouse then. And so my friend told me he had been to the first grade, he flunked, so we were in the same grade. And his advice to me was, don't say anything. Because if you say anything, they're going to ask you questions. So don't say anything. Okay. So I'm there, and I'm glad. I'm just sitting there. And the next thing I know, Vic Charlo. Whoa. They want me. So I have to go up to the front of the class. And I go up to the front of the class, and the first thing she asks me, what's your name? And see, I stutter. And if I say anything, I know I'm going to stutter because I can't say Vic. I say, blah, 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 something like that. And so I just stood there. As finally my sister, Betsy, came up and stood with me. And they said, well, what's your name? And I just didn't say anything. And then finally, I cried. And the teacher said, well, little boy, maybe you should come back next year. Holy moly, they don't even want me here. They don't even want me here at this school. So I just go back to my desk, and sure enough, I don't go back to school. I got all my school clothes, and I'm all ready to go. Can't go. When I get home, my dad says, boy, you're smart. You learned everything in one day. So that was it. And so then that year I stayed home and learned. I learned my alphabet, I learned things, and that summer I quit stuttering. I actually quit stuttering. I don't know how it happened, but it just quit. I was no longer a stutterer. And so I went to school and I was able to help other people because, you know, they sometimes, you know, little kids, sometimes they need a little bit of help, so that's what I would do, is I'd help them. And so this is what this poem's about. Remember this time. This girl with stops in her throat makes me remember Everett Schoolhouse, the first day of school. I stutter like this girl, yet I want to stay in this one room warm. Fear shakes my feet to teacher's desk. When she asks me my name, I know if I tell her, I will stutter, and she will send me home. I cry instead. She sends me home anyway. The girl lives in Boulder, she says, and the smell of Everett Schoolhouse brings me home. So that kind of makes sense, right? Okay. Boy, I'm running out of poems. But I've got a lot of stuff here. This one is called Two Eagle River. And there's a school, the tribal school, Two Eagle River School. By the way, I did name that school. That's my name. And it's still going. And I wrote this poem, and it's about eagles, Two Eagle River. Eagles, I keep thinking eagles. I look out this window and see nests, and sometimes I see dark forms that say eagle. We talk, living river. Some say they are, and some say they aren't. I believe I want a feather, not because eagle is more eagle because of feather. I have watched and wondered, and this makes me want some part of what is across the other side, living river. So, that's that. So,
Excuse me, Vic?
yes,
You have a question. Would you be willing to take some
Sure.
questions from the students?
question?
My uncle
Uh-huh.
went to River School.
I can't hear.
You're going to have to speak up for me. Stand up so you can see him. Speak louder.
My uncle went to Eagle River School.
Oh, all right. Yeah,
What was the hardest poem you've ever wrote?
the hardest poem? The hardest one, and the hardest one to read, is called Resurrection of Pascal Mission. I can't even say the title. Resurrection. I haven't read it for a long time. And I don't read sometimes I don't read my poems off. Yes?
What's the easiest poem you've ever read?
The easiest one? It's right in the front of the first, this first one of the, is called Bad Wine. You can love a dying Indian, but when he drinks bad wine and breaks your best glass, you give him to the wind. That was the easy. Well, it wasn't easy. It was really, really hard to write it. You know, just to sit there and try to get something down. But I worked at it, and finally it just came out. Yes?
When did you start writing poems?
When did I start? Good question. I started writing when I couldn't write. I would scribble. Well, okay, let me just back up a little bit. My folks had a cellar, and I buried it behind the cellar. And as far as I know, they're probably still there. So if you want to find some scribbles, go look for them. That's where they're at. And so I learned how to scribble, and then finally learned how to write, and I've been doing it ever since. So that's how I learned how to write. You just start. Yes. No. Okay. Yes.
How deep did you dig?
What's that?
How deep did you dig?
How what?
How deep did you dig?
How deep?
To bury the cans?
How intense am I?
No. How far down did you dig and then put the can?
Oh, how deep did I bury it?
Yeah.
Probably just not very deep, because I was just a little kid too, right? I was about, I was maybe 5 or 6 then, and I just put it under the ground and just put dirt over it, and there it was. Never looked at it again, and so that was my writing. That was my first writing. So, any more questions? These are good questions. Yes.
Why did you go get it?
What's that? What?
Why didn't you go get it?
Why didn't I go read it?
Yeah. Why didn't you go get it?
Oh, why didn't I go get it?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, when you're a kid, you just put things away, and sometimes you forget them. I think that's probably what I did. I just totally forgot it. But I still remember, right, that they're there. Where, I know where the root cellar is, but where, you know, and the root cellar is still there. The house is gone, but the root cellar is still, you can still see the root cellar. Yes?
Are you gonna go there again?
Oh, yeah. I just went there not too long ago. There were some folks that wanted to do a TV series about my brother. My brother was Vic Charlo. He was a Marine, and he was a hero on Iwo Jima. And they were going to do something about it. And so I did go up to Devereaux, showed him the old house, showed him some things. And so, yeah, I've been there. I've been there since.
You should dig them up.
Hmm?
You should dig them up.
I should dig them up? Okay, I'll look for them, okay? I promise. I promise you I'll look for them. Okay.
How long have the plants been in the ground?
What's that?
How long have the plants been in the ground?
How long have they been in the ground? Okay, I'm 6 years old, and I was about 5 or 6 then, and I'm 77 now. So, can anybody do some math for me?
72 years.
72?
72 or 71?
71. 71? Okay, he did the math. 71. Is that right? Okay. Okay. Another question.
Why did you scribble on the papers?
Pardon?
Why did you scribble on the papers? You didn't know how to
Why did you scribble on the papers?
Well, why did I scribble on the paper? Because I thought I was writing. I thought I was actually writing something. And that's why I was scribbling, because I didn't know how to write. See, I couldn't even write I probably could write my name. And so when, I had to do something, I was just scribbling. And every page was scribbled. Yes.
Do you know how to write cursive?
Do I know how to write? In what?
Cursive.
Cursive. Oh, yeah. But you know what? I had a stroke. About 6 or 7 years ago. And one of the things that happens when you have a stroke, you forget how to write. And so I couldn't even write my name. I had a check I was going to cash, and I tried to write my name. It was just a scribble. And they took it anyway. So that was all right with me. And what happened was I had to relearn how to write again. I was probably 60 some years old then. And I could write and I could do all these things, and I couldn't do it anymore. And so I had to just practice and practice. Yes?
Did your poetry change after your stroke? Like your subjects or anything like that?
It probably has. Writing changes all the time anyway. So yeah, I think it's changed. Yes?
How many poems have you wrote?
How many poems have I written? Holy moly. Okay, I've got this book, and I've got a new book. Come to think about it, I should probably tell you. A new book is coming out, and there's about 80, I think there's about 80 poems in there. I'm not quite sure how many are here, but I've written a lot of poems, a lot of stuff that just has never been published, that people have never seen. And what's happened with the poetry that I've got now, that's what we tried to do, is I tried to find all the stuff I had, all the stuff I've ever written, and I've got this, and so I'm hoping that this will be a book eventually. Yes?
Out of all your poems, what one do you think is the best?
All the poems, what I think is the best. Let me think about that one. Holy moly. Boy, you guys ask good questions. Maybe it's my Salish poem. And see, I can't even read, I can read the English for you, but I can't read the Salish for you. Let me read one. See where it is. Yeah, this one is called Crochet, and it's good enough. And this is the English. And my daughter, how we do it is, we went to Washington, D.C. to Wolf Trap, which actually is a park, a national park. It's like 27 acres. And see, national parks, Glacier National Park, Yellowstone National Park, are big, big places. Well, Wolf Trap is same thing, but it's only 20-some acres. And what they've got there is they've got this big coliseum where you go and you do readings and stuff like that. And so they invited us, and we went there. And there were 3,100 people there that we spoke to, and it was amazing. It was amazing. And my daughter read the Salish, and I translated it. And so I'm translating, this is the English. Kuche, it means good enough. What's in your heart? What's the new? Indian people, sun, moon, stars, watch over us. We are the chosen people. We are the chosen people. We hear our ancient song. This is our guide. We sing the songs and we are happy. Good. Good night. So that's the English. There's Salish that goes with this. So, good question. Yes?
What suggestions do you have for young poets about writing?
What suggestions do I have for young poets? I think one of the things about writing poetry is you have to have some kind of idea, right? And so you think about things, and see, the thing is, what I do is I start writing and I start getting ideas. And as I get those ideas, I try to put them together. But maybe it doesn't all go together quite right. So you just keep working at it and keep working at it. And sometimes it'll be the same poem, same letters maybe, but just a little bit different. And that makes a difference. So, and see, the thing is, have you ever tried to write a nonsense poem? A nonsense poem? Try to write something that doesn't make sense? Have you? Some of you have. Did it ever make sense to you? Nope. Wow. Well, that's pretty cool. Because that's what I'd like. Does everybody have a piece of paper? No.
Yeah, I'll go get one.
Could you share pieces of paper? Some people don't have pencils. No, I think we've got to. We're going to get some. We're going to get some. And what I want you to do, folks, I want you to write me a nonsense poem. Something that doesn't make sense. And see if you can do it.
Are you guys ready to start writing? He's going to give us some instructions.
Okay. What I need is for you, first of all, you've got your pencil and paper. Okay. Now I want you, I'm not going to tell you what to write. So what I'm going to tell you, some suggestions. Okay. If you're going to write nonsense, what does that mean? It doesn't make any sense, right? And so, write down something that you think doesn't make sense to somebody. Can you do that? I know it's hard, but see, just start writing, like a word, just a word, any word. One word. Okay. Think about that. Think about that word. And think about another word that might go with it, but maybe won't go with it. And see, what you want to do is you want to write things that don't make sense. That don't make sense. Does it make sense to you? It doesn't make sense. Did you write a word? Oh, you got a bunch of words. Okay. Do they make sense? Okay, here's a good line. Say it again. You can make sense out of nonsense. That's a great line. So, keep writing. Any word. Just any word that comes to your mind.
Yes.
one more poem. Okay, in this one, I sing a song. So, don't applaud after the song. Wait until I read the poem. It's called First Polar Bear. And there are some things in here. Well, I'll read the poem first and then we'll talk about it. First Polar Bear for Chuck Jonko. Years of waiting become centered north as you leave warm reservation to travel unknown trails, guided by knowing you are the center of the universe wherever you are. You try to walk with all being, knowing you do what is best to do what is right. Your feet are light. Light is walking their song that urges you on to country of your ancestors, the Cree and the Chippewa, and walking bear comes finally home. Was it ancient scratches on glacier-polished granite that told you your ancestors were waiting? Was it high wind that geese ride north, or those owls who sang with a great snowy, those owls on a tree at your door at the old Dixon Agency? You want to paint your face a color mixed with red granite and Hudson's Bay water as a sign that you take your place at the council fire with bear to talk of relatives to share songs. You remember teachers singing who Walking Bear was as you scratch your joy deep in smooth, hard stone. And Walking Bear comes finally home. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, 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 oh, oh, Lemon. Thank you. Keep writing, and you'll get better. That's what happens. You just keep writing, and you'll get better. So thank you all of you poets.